So I'd like to start off just by thinking about this relationship goes back a few years.
Yeah.
How you all first met each other, because you, Derrick, you knew Jonathan before I did.
I did, yeah. Jonathan and I met originally. An EOS implementer introduced us out of Chicago. And I'll never forget, we set up a Zoom call, and I was actually in my kitchen at home, and it was you and one of your teammates, and we were talking about Titus Talent Strategies, what you guys did for EOS run companies and other entrepreneurial businesses. And I'll never forget, when I was learning more about your model, you talked about the head, the heart, and the briefcase. And I thought, well, that's really interesting, because we've been thinking a lot about it's more than just skills and experiences. They have to have the intellect, they have to have the core values, they have to have the skills and experience. Lines up a lot with GWC and EOS. And then what blew me away in that conversation was you said, oh, and we do a 1-year performance guarantee. And I'm like, what? You do a one, and tell me more about that. And you're like, yeah, we set up metrics, and 1 year later, if that employee's not performing to expectation, we give you your money back. It's a full guarantee. And I thought, well, that's amazing, because we've been burned so many times just trying to find the right people and never, it's a very difficult process, and you're guaranteed the performance. I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah.
I knew right then, I was like, I like this guy, I like this company, I want to get to know Jonathan more. And I think shortly thereafter, I mentioned to you, I said, hey, what are your long-term plans?
Is that how you remember the conversation, or did it go?
No, it's like that's when Harry Met Sally, the movie, and they're like couples, and like, that's not how it happened. But no, that's pretty similar to that. Everything except there's no 1 year guarantee on performance. We're not giving you money back anyway, that's for sure. We'll clear that up later. Nobody gets their money back. Now, we'll replace them. We will replace them.
Oh.
Okay. You still want to do this deal or not?
Holy,
Wait, that wasn't what I thought.
told me something else. You told me
What?
No, I think that's, well, since starting this business, when Scott Seafeld, my integrator, and my former boss, it's a cool story there, story of another day, but when we started it, we really, right at the beginning, we said, hey, we want to be really clear on our values, like what we're about. We want to be really clear on why we exist, purpose, and we want to be really, really clear on how we treat people. And so we figured out we really, when it comes down to it, people come first for us in our decision making. What's best for the holistic picture of people, not in just individuals, but what's best for people and the whole company and the trajectory we're going. And then what's best for partners, which are our customers, we call them partners. What's best for them? How do we serve them with their people strategy? We're a people strategy company, not just a recruiting company. Recruiting is actually the majority of what we do, but actually the whole story from hire to retire. How do you bring people through on your journey of developing them, retaining them, and getting absolute performance out of them, because that's why we hire people, to get a job done. So we want to be really clear on that. And then our profits, what do they exist for? And we want to make an impact in the world. So I'd always had this kind of, private equity, all they care about is just money, like anyone.
you figured this out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't want any part of that, because they're just going to kind of make you make decisions based on what's best for the dollar for them and the investors. And I'm like, So for years, it was always like, no. But every time we connected, I'm like, oh, there's something different about these guys. What is it?
Yeah.
And then as you started on, kind of revealing your value system and your journey of what you were doing, that you do really care about people, and you do care about impact. I'm like, okay. And then hearing about this entrepreneurial toolkit of how you were going to be building out your portfolio of companies, I'm like, all right, I want to be in there. How do I get in that toolkit?
So it's interesting, the entrepreneurial toolkit, we didn't start off there. We kind of migrated there over time as we saw the same struggles with companies over and over again around the same three issues: people, customers, and data. Being able to attract and retain great people, being able to get and keep loyal customers, and being able to make decisions using real data just versus gut feel. The high-flying big companies, they have all the resources they need. The high-flying venture capital-backed company, they have tons of resources. But that company in the middle, they have very little resources, and we don't think it's a level playing field. So we're trying to level the playing field with the entrepreneurial toolkit. And that's why what attracted us to you all was that helps level that playing field, particularly around that people component. What got you when you heard about the entrepreneurial toolkit? What did you think? What is?
I thought, like, oh, that makes sense. It didn't come from this angle of, like, you know, in my view of PE firms, kind of like grab anything that they can flip and turn around.
Yeah.
And I kind of, what's your journey with EOS? And I thought, okay, if this is, from what I understand about Gino Wickman, I understand kind of this movement that was being created. And if it was good enough for him and he was willing to entrust everything that he said he was about and everything he said he was building to the Firefly Group and these guys, I'm like, okay, I'm leaning in.
Yeah.
And it made me a little bit more inquisitive.
Yeah.
And going, okay, maybe my posture should a bit more of, you know, kind of choose to trust a little bit more and go, okay, explore. And then seeing kind of where you wanted to go and seeing the types of companies that you wanted in this toolkit. And I imagine it being like a toolkit.
Yeah.
That you open this up, like, what's in here? And all of the right tools. I'm not a handyman at home, but I go and buy the tools because I don't usually have them, and I use them once and don't really know how I'm using them. But just imagining that companies would have, entrepreneurial companies would have access to a toolkit of other resources, of knowledge, of people, of just companies that have gone before them who can help them get better. I'm like, yeah, I would want to be a beneficiary of that, and to be a part of that and to be an added resource for other organizations. I'm like, great. Obviously, we've been running on EOS for over a decade, and it's been massive for us. I mean, we've seen exponential growth. We're 5th year in a row right now, Inc. 5000. We're debt free. We've been able to hit all of our giving goals. We're ahead of our core target right now, which is really exciting. And I'm so thankful for running on EOS for that.
Yeah.
And so that's been really, really amazing. And then this community that we're a part of, even up to this point, we've always felt like we're not really, are we a part of this community?
Yeah.
And so kind of like, for us, it kind of give us that solidifying of like, we're in this community, we're a part of it, and we can be a resource to other people, beneficiaries of all of these relationships in a special way. So that was the exciting part, and it made me want to reach out to Derrick again. I'm like, hey, give me the toolkit.
Well, so I knew when you expressed interest, I was like, well, that's awesome, because I didn't know you would have interest in what we were doing. And having that relationship build up over a 4-year period and building trust, I knew that when we talked recently that not only were you a leader in this people category for what we're building in the entrepreneurial toolkit, but there was going to be a lot of shared core values, shared mission around people first.
Yeah.
David and I talk about this all the time. We got into private equity work. We felt called into it, and we feel like this is our way that we can make a positive impact in people's lives. And you run businesses, the best way to run a business is putting people first.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, the results kind of take care of themselves. And I know you do a ton of keynotes on that topic.
Yeah.
So I knew when you gave me that call, like this was going to be something special. And so we've been really excited to get it to this point. And now we get to announce it to the world.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, we always talk about if you can get core values right, not just something that hangs on the wall, but it becomes part of the DNA of the entire organization.
Yeah.
It truly does change people's lives for the better.
Oh, yeah.
Because everything else can kind of take care of itself. If I get those right and I bring those people in who believe those values, it's amazing how things flow. How have you all thought about that?
Oh, totally. Well, I mean, you see it in. Well, I think when you actually define what you mean by the values, like what are the behaviors that go with that word? You know, I could say we're all passionate, and then people are like, we're passionate. What do we do? Do we run around in circles? Do we jump?
You run through a wall, right?
Yeah. What do we do? But what does it look like by behavior? You know.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of tenacity that we don't give up, we don't quit early. Like we push through.
Yeah.
We make sure that we're really clear on what the end goal looks like. It's passion for winning. And what does winning look like? It's doing your absolute best. You know, we want to hire great people, and their best is top notch.
Yeah.
So we want passion to drive people through. And so we talk about the behaviors that align with that. And I think that a lot of our team, we're 100 and I don't know where we're close to right now, 170 or so salaried team members in 30 plus states, serving loads of different companies across the country. And we talk so much about our values. What does that look like, and how does it kind of function in life? And we hire people who align with those values already, and it's like, oh, it makes it a heck of a lot easier, just bringing clarity on definition. And so that's great. And then I think within the community, obviously with the EOS community and the sales acceleration and the other companies in your toolkit, one of the things I see a lot is people talk about core values, and it's not just bleeding into their personal world. They're intentional about taking it into their personal lives. Going, here, what are our family core values? What is our family's 3-year picture? What's our family core target? And you're like, wow, this is like, is this a cult?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But it's like so kind of goes through into everything people do. And I'm like, that sounds really easy when everyone's talking about the same language, and that's what makes it so much easier. Everyone sort of goes and flows together and running through walls together. So it seemed like an easy match from that angle to me.
Yeah. And building on that, Jonathan, I know we've talked about this offline, and love to get some more color on these. You live out these core values by, I'm going to take people to show you what core values really mean. Let's go down to Mexico and do something with our hands.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about how that came to be and how that plays out with some of the
I think it's that kind of that flow of, like, sometimes it starts primarily in your business, or sometimes it starts primarily in your personal world. For me, I got invited by somebody, a president of a company in Indianapolis, said, hey, have you ever done a home build? And I'm like, no, what? And she invited me down to Mexico with an organization that built 7,000 homes for families in extreme poverty, and it was for presidents and their families. And I went, I'm going. So I went. Took my whole family, and it just wrecked me. I was like, this is awesome. Like, we could all written checks and arguably done greater impact for families directly there, but it changed us. And so one of the things in doing that, I'm like, well, anytime I get excited by something, I want to tell everybody. And so I'm like, we should bring the whole company. So we did. That next year, we took the whole company down there.
Well, Scott's like, hold on a second.
Exactly. He's like, what? You know, it was better than the time when I said, we should take the whole company to the Bahamas. He was like, what? You know, but this was a really good cause. And so it aligned with our values. So it was easy decision. We took the whole company. And of course, they asked for the same thing. They said, oh my gosh, I want to take my families, you know, because it impacted them, and they wanted to bring other people on this journey. And I think that sort of journey of generosity, journey of impact, it's kind of trajectory for us is, well, everybody we genuinely care for, we want to take them to see something bigger than just making a profit. So, which is why we had a client one time ask us for Super Bowl tickets, because they thought the relationship deserved a nice little perk. And I'm like, no, we wouldn't do that, but we will take you to Mexico on an all expenses paid trip. Bring a significant other, bring your kid, bring a spouse. And they were like, okay, leaning in. I'm like, to build houses for those, so they were thinking a resort, and I was thinking something completely different. But it started our first sort of client, we call it partner trip. So to our clients down there last year, and then 3 this year. We'll do 3 or 4 a year, so once a quarter taking trips down there, and it's been really fun in taking EOS companies running on EOS implementers. And that's been really cool. And I think it's all part of that synergistic relationship of we want to do good, we want to make an impact, which is another part of this as well. I'm like, I know these guys care about that. It's
we got to go on our trip.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
October 5th.
Gotta get it on the calendar.
October 5th.
I think, Jonathan, last year you all did nearly 1,400 placements.
1,321.
1,321. Okay.
About 1,600 companies that we worked with in the last 36 months, helping them with people strategy, recruiting, critical roles. Some say, well, what kind of roles? And we're like, from the top floor to the shop floor, and everything in between. There are lots of areas that we help companies with recruitment and hiring, or recruitment strategy, and how to attract talent, how to retain them and develop them. But yeah, we recruiting is a big part of our skill set of what we do in our services.
You started to talk about your generosity side, just going back to that a little bit. I was like, tell me more about that, because we hadn't heard that. I mean, there's a lot of people that are people driven and want to do generous things, but I didn't really know how you made that part of your core strategy. So as we started asking questions, I remember David, Markin, and I were like, wow, Jonathan and Scott and the Titus team have really made generosity like a core strategy. It's like who they are.
Yeah.
And it's what people know them for. And we thought, that is amazing how you've not made that something separate that you do, but you've like integrated it into the business and what your brand and what you're known for. And I think that's, in today's world, that's awesome for people to know, and to be like an influence for other people to be more generous.
So do you all build that into the budget, or how do you all think about that?
Totally. It's, I think as you plan for anything in your business, you budget for it. If you
Jonathan's like, what's a budget?
Yes. Can you explain budget,
Scott.
I mean, how do you spell that?
Yeah, how do you spell that?
Yeah.
But it's just actually going, okay, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And we start with the end in mind, like, hey, how generous do you want to be? You know, it's not as crazy. My wife and I, anytime there's a kind of an opportunity to give, it's kind of like a 1, 2, 3, and then we both say the number, and whoever gets the highest one, we go with that one. So it's not that kind of a budget.
Yeah.
But we actually plan it in of generosity, and portion of our profits are going to do good. And so we genuinely believe it's a business strategy. Even if you didn't care about generosity, I could prove to you that it actually works as a business strategy for retaining talent, for getting people to give their all.
Yep.
And growing your business, and your customers will want to be a part of what you're doing if they know that it's making an impact.
Yeah.
Because we all want to make an impact.
Yeah.
And so that's what we do. One of our large clients, they are a Milwaukee-based company in the tool industry. So the Milwaukee's and tools. That's if you can figure out who it is. Anyway. They said, hey, we've been working with you for a decade now. Can we have a discount? It's time for a big discount. I'm like, sure, what do you want? And they said, well, we're thinking this much. I'm like, great, no problem. What's the not-for-profit you'd like us to give it to? And they're like, oh, come on. You know, I'm like, like, what's going to make you sleep better at night? Like, not saving a little bit that you get to go to your boss and go, we saved X%.
Yeah.
You know, I'll sleep better, you sleep better. And so we wrote the check to the Southeastern Wisconsin veterans, you know, like of veterans housing. And I'm like, come on, that's even better. Yeah. That we know that our partnership is doing good, not you win, I win, who's, trying to get the scales balanced. I'm like, golly, let's just make somebody else great. And that's a business strategy. Sure. So it's part of the business strategy.
I was trying to think about, as you project out over the next 3 years or so, where you're going and how being part of the entrepreneurial toolkit is going to help you that or make that come faster.
Yeah. Well, I think no doubt what the Firefly Group has done, you're part of a giant network of relationships that are very, very relationally driven. You've got implementers, you've got advisors, you've got coaches, you've got consultants all across the country serving companies and helping a lot of entrepreneurial people figure out what they want to get out of their business and how to get there faster. And so we come along and say, hey, not we trying to, want to hitch my wagon to that sounds good.
Yeah.
It's like, well, can we not be a part of this movement of good? So we're a for-profit, for-good organization. And I think there is a network that we can serve a lot of companies and make them feel good by giving great counsel, great process around the people component, and then delivering great results when it comes to phenomenal people who align with their vision and values.
Right.
And so to me, I'm like, in one way, David, we're already in it, and then that's what makes it really well. We didn't just show up going, hey, we want to be in.
Yeah.
Like, we're so in already. And we're partnering with 200 EOS implementers right now and growing in the sales acceleration, the community of advisors, serving them and their clients. And that's been a lot of fun because we speak a common language and aligned in a commonality or a clear vision together. So it's like, well, can we do more? Can we serve in a greater way? Yeah. Can we scale faster and serve in a greater way and make a bigger impact? Heck yeah. And that's what we're in for.
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, you can't have a big vision as a company without great people.
Yeah.
And you help solve that issue, which so many entrepreneurial businesses struggle with.
Yeah.
Getting right people in the right seats.
Yeah.
And that's the critical piece.
Yeah, for sure. I think, So I mean, we're really, really excited about this, about the strategic investment in us, and in some ways the strategic investment of us into the communities as well. Like, we're kind of like all chips in, like, hey, we want to grow in this community and serve like crazy. And
I think the brand you guys have already built in the entrepreneurial community, whether that's EOS or outside of EOS, you guys have already built a ton of credibility. And so we're like really excited to say, hey, the entrepreneurial toolkit is welcoming in the Titus Talent Strategies. Like, that makes everybody in the toolkit excited and looking forward to what that can do for their businesses as well, because you guys just do great work.
Oh, that's that's humbling and really exciting. I'm like,
Yeah,
if that's
he's a commercial for you.
seriously, you should get that on video.
So it's interesting because as we started off talking about this, what's most important to us is we want two things in somebody who comes into the toolkit. They're a sector leader, and they have core values that we can work with and we can all match.
Yeah.
So you all were the ideal. I mean, it just couldn't have been more perfectly aligned when we thought about here's a sector leader who has a strong position in these communities, who has a unique proposition to offer out in the world. And here we are with values that aligned and trying to have that people first, trying to make that impact and trying to change the world one person at a time. If we can do that, I mean, it's going to be an amazing journey over the next 3, 5, 10 years.
We are all in. And that's what, our team, hearing this announcement, they're like, what does this mean? What does it mean? It means we keep growing, and growth equals opportunity. It's opportunity for our team members to grow further, for us to add more to our team, which is a greater impact in the world.
Absolutely.
And I think our team members love it. We're, as I say, for profit, for good. Our team members benefit by a profit sharing model internally at Titus, but they know that this is so much of our profits are given to making an impact, and it's an impact in the things that they care about. So we love sowing into local communities that our teams are, what the teams are involved with, and what our clients, we call partners, are involved with. So if they're involved with it, we want to give to those things.
Tell us a little bit about what excites you on that talent spectrum. What's next outside of recruiting? One of the things we've seen with entrepreneurial businesses is it's not just getting the right people in, but it's retaining them and growing them and developing them. Bigger companies have seen this for a while. I think the entrepreneurial businesses are starting to see how important that is, the whole journey for their people. Tell us about like the future for that.
But I think sort of back up a little bit. Some of the things we're doing today. One is like critical hiring for companies, like leadership hiring, whatever's critical to our clients. We want to help with those critical roles, so that's one part, sort of the individual searches of really important roles. And another one is, hey, we're growing, we need to add more people to our team, we want to kind of manage and contain the cost. So we have a fractional model where we plug into organizations, 90-day increments, etc., to help them with attracting talent or getting people in the door. But yes, there's another side, kind of, we call it talent optimization and consulting. Like, what do you do when you have great talent? How do you grow and develop them? Because A players want something very different than B's and C's. They want growth, they want stretch, they want impact, and growth meaning like, hey, in 12 to 18 months time, am I still going to feel stretched in this role, or do I see it kind of coming to an end? And there's a shelf life on talent. A players, they want to know, am I going to keep being stretched? Am I keep doing it, going to make an impact? Am I growing? Are they growing me? Am I having opportunity to grow? That's really important. So helping tie talent to the 3-year, 5-year, 10-year core target where people are going, and do the people in the organization know how to develop those talent to keep them engaged, retained, and getting maximum output. I
think that's going to be a huge opportunity.
Huge. And then the others is like, one of the biggest problems companies have is their people. Like, it's the kind of, it can just suddenly go, it says for me anyway. But it's like, it's the relationship that people have together. Usually it's the problem.
Right.
It's not just, they're a problematic person. It's what they do to those around them. And so how do you get teams working together? Does everybody know what their position on the field is? And does everybody know what excellence look like when they're doing that job? The footwork and everything. And then, can you trust that the person to your left and right is going to do what they should be doing? And then are you communicating well? So we get teams working well together and helping understand around kind of expectations and values and things like that. So
And when I think about the toolkit today, it's not only across the U.S., it's across the world at this point. And as you all think about taking your business internationally, how do you what does that look like?
Well, probably like many visionary folk, we jumped the gun on this one. I was like, we should open up in the UK. So we'll just click titustalent.co.uk. All of our videos will have a British voiceover, not mine, but a really good one. They don't like it. They don't like it very well in the UK. They're funny. from an international perspective, Titus already has a number of clients internationally, and so we do serve international companies that as long as they're English speaking. We don't have a whole team of bilingual headhunters and recruiters or talent optimization consultants. So we are equipped to serve international companies, and we love it, because we are in an age right now where business is done on a global stage, and so we're excited about that. And I think the biggest thing when you say internationally, I'm like, great, big thinking. That's what it says to me. It says that you're not myopic, that you're not just like, we're going to be the best company that serves companies in the Midwest or in the Rust Belt in Indianapolis. I'm like, no. These guys are global scope,
global brand.
I want to be a part of that. Yeah,
absolutely.
When you think about, Derrick, how big this is for the toolkit, where do you see the kind of biggest impact initially out of the gates with Titus and the toolkit and across our companies?
Well, I think number one, it will be, well received among the EOS and sales acceleration communities that we've brought into the toolkit, a brand that shares in their core values, that does excellent work, and that really cares about people. And so first and foremost, I think that's going to just be a big deal.
Yeah.
Not just for Titus, but for EOS and sales acceleration. So I'm excited about that. And then you guys have already started building a number of relationships within the EOS community. And through a grassroots effort, we'd love to just continue to help first type relationships, continue to grow those relationships within both EOS and sales acceleration, and then just bring all of our relationships to bear for you all, so that more entrepreneurs realize they've got this great option around talent optimization. And it's not just about recruiting, it's the whole journey that their people take and if they want A players, they've got to really think and invest in this area. And I think you guys are the leader. And so bringing all those relationships to bear, long term, it'll be interesting. I think there's a lot of opportunity in the fractional space, helping companies on a longer term basis really get the whole talent equation right.
And thinking, Jonathan, more of at a micro level, a lot of small and mid-sized companies we deal with, like, okay, we got to hire somebody. Well, Derrick knows somebody, let's hire them. How do we get somebody to professionalize that and get that to think more? That person has to be a top talent. It has to be that A player you described.
Well, it's funny to hear the word process and how much I love process coming out of my mouth. I love that somebody's following it. I know that process is really, really important. When it comes to hiring, most companies, even like we talk about right person, right seat. Well, what's the process to get the right person in the right seat? People go, where's that written down? We've written down that process. And so we created a 4-phase process, a journey to get them to that point where they are the right person in the right seat, and taking them all the way through to anniversary day. So process is really, really important. And then who are the people representing your name and brand? It's not like kind of a post and pray that the right person applies, but it's actually kind of going out and finding and attracting the best. In the same way we want the best customers. We want the best talent. So they're probably working somewhere else. They're probably not out there twiddling their thumbs or unemployed or in transition. I'm not saying unemployed are bad people. I'm not saying that. There's some great ones. But we know that the best of the best people are most likely working somewhere else. So how do we go after them? How do we tap them on the shoulder? Not only do we attract them, have a process to attract them, but actually a process then to woo them through and simultaneously vet and screen them, and a scorecard for hiring. What's the scorecard for hiring? Well, we've got that established. So that really, really helps as well. And then understand that, like you said before, it's not just about their skills, but it's about their heart, it's about values and motivations. Why do they do what they do? If you can figure those things out, you're not going to make the same mistake that you made last time with the person you're having to replace. So really kind of working that into the equation. But one thing I'd just say on Derrick, your comment about this toolkit, I'm excited about the soon to be other companies in the toolkit. The reason I'm excited about that is I know you guys and what you're doing and your value system, that the future is going to be companies that are going to be aligned with us. The association is a great association for me. I want to be associated with companies of high value, high integrity, that are doing the right thing, doing things with good, solid character and good motives. And so that was really, really important to me. And companies that do things excellently, and they've got a great brand in the marketplace that people trust. And so that's something that makes me feel really proud about the future of this as well. the rest of the companies that are to be in the
It's a great point. We talk to a lot of companies who say, hey, I want to be part of that toolkit. We're like, wow, they're a pretty strong company. Then we look at their values, like it just wouldn't fit.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to accomplish is just
pretty obvious.
It wouldn't work.
Yeah.
We've learned over the years, but I come back to your point about the heart. We talk a lot about how do you get to that heart, because I'm not spending a ton of time with someone. I'm trying to determine very quickly.
Yeah.
Is that heart truly there, or is that just a show to make me think it's there?
Totally. Yeah. When it comes to hiring, it's quite an emotional thing for a lot of people. They do this kind of like, I can tell you in 6 seconds if they're a great match, and you're like, no, you can't. You can tell me if you trust your gut in those first 6 seconds of some kind of impression they gave you. And a lot of leaders do this. I do this. If I'm not following the process, I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm going to come up with some kind of a bias that says this is a good person or this is a bad person. I'm going to spend the next hour proving to myself why I'm right or wrong. And that's just a rubbish way of hiring. Have an actual process where you can objectively look and score them on whatever it is, and make sure everybody else who interviews the same person is scoring from exactly the same scorecard. And then you come together and debrief and go, what about this? What about this? The last time I was involved in any hiring at Titus, I went against and violated the scorecard, and I said, trust me, I'm a visionary. I can see things that you can't see. I didn't say it like that, but almost. Pretty much. I was like, I have these superpowers. I can see diamonds and gold, in the coal. And people are like, he's not a value alignment. The score says he's not the right person. And I'm like, just trust me. 30 days in, I'm on a family vacation. I get a call like, dude, you need to fire this guy, And I'm like, well, he doesn't work for me. He works for you. And they're like, no, you made us hire him, And I'm like, so that was I got fired from hiring because I violated the process and I went with gut, and I was convinced I saw something nobody else could see. And I think sometimes we have to get out of our way for our businesses and say, I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to follow the process. Yeah. And at times it really hurts because we really want it to be something that it's not. Yeah. And we just got to, cut bait.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned process, because so many visionary entrepreneurs are like, I don't do process here.
Yeah.
But process actually leads to better predictability.
Yes.
And it goes to show, like in that story.
And it frees you up to do the creative stuff.
Yeah. You have to do more creative things, make your business more fun. Now, we're not talking about 100-page SOPs, right? It's short to the point, but it's a proven process. And I love that you guys replicate that among your clients.
I don't know who originally said this, but Justin Miles said, like, pre-made decision. They're pre-made decisions. Yeah. We've already made the decision when we planned it and we established where we're going and how we're going to get there. So it was an easy yes. So it's easy for me. You go back to the budgeting on generosity. Sure. It's easy for me to go, we got that covered. But we want to empower our team members to know what the process is and the budget that they've been given, so they can be at an event and they can go, I got that covered, and people go, you did what? Who is it? My company's covering I didn't know you owned a business. And they go, no, I'm a part of a company that's budgeted and communicated with me that I can say yes to this. Yeah. And it's backed. But it was already pre-made decision. Right. And so it empowers people around the area of generosity, I think was another piece, which is like, the pre-made decisions thing is not something that is innate to me. I'm a heart-based, like, let's do this, squirrel. So that's why the process is so great for me.
I remember the first time you and I met, you were telling me about your process for recruiting, and you talked about this performance guarantee. Yeah. And I've talked to a lot of recruiting businesses over my years, and we've used a lot of recruiting businesses. I'd never heard anything about a performance guarantee. Yeah. So I'd love to learn more about that or share more about that.
Well, it started with like, okay, what's our guarantee? Yeah. Like, what's our guarantee as a business? And I used to be like, well, how can we guarantee anything? Our product is people. If I could do that, I'd be in a different industry. Yeah. So the big question was, well, what's the point of hiring people? Why do we hire people? We hire people so they get a job done. And so we said, what if we could guarantee they get the job done? And it was kind of like, whoa.
Everybody around the table was like,
I'm not going to be part of this. And I'm like, well, what would we need to know if they got the job done? And first of all, we said we have to quantify what the job is. What are the 3 to 5 major quantifiable objectives that this person needs to do, achieve, or accomplish by their anniversary date? And let's back our way in. What do they need to do by the 90th day, 180, 270, 365? Let's mark it out and say, what do they need to do, achieve, or accomplish? And then what would we need to know to help them get there? Well, we need to know the team. We need to know what the product is. We need to know the services. We need to know whatever the job is, whether it be a janitor, whether it be an integrator, whether it be the visionary, doesn't really matter. How are we going to measure success? And then we just said, what information would we need to know to be able to measure that success? So that's how we came up with the head, the heart, and the briefcase. Behaviors and cognitive to get that job done. Values and motivations to get that job done. And actual skills, what do they really need by skills to get that job done?
Yeah.
And then we say, okay, let's go find that person, use a scorecard, and then we'll put a guarantee on it. And here's the crazy visionary. I said, wouldn't it be crazy if we charged on the anniversary date the full fee? And the good integrator, also a CPA and CFO in the room, says, no, it's called cash flow, Jonathan. We can't run a business that way. And I said, well, what if we charged our services on the anniversary date less the cost of our time on the front end? Now we're not getting a big rewards or anything like that for the job not fully done. The fully done job is on the anniversary date when they crush it. So that's kind of we've set out, and that's one of our services. Some of the companies use us for that. Some use us for some of the fractional work. But it's been a lot of fun being kind of punching it in the face, going, the point of hiring people, when we negotiate what's 100% of the salary, we should also be talking about what's 100% performance look like. And let's agree on both of those together, because that's what the job really is. It's not sitting in a seat or showing up every day. It's actually getting a job done. So
I like it because it's a win-win-win. To win for the hiring company, because they'll actually have to define, what is this person going to do? Oftentimes you go and they don't exactly know, but now I'm forcing you to define it. That person who's going into the seat, like, now I know what I have to do. And here's what success looks like. And for you, you're all aligned there because now we're all on the same page. Here's what it looks like for everybody. And a year later, like, we did it or we didn't. It's pretty simple.
It seems really simple to me. If 100% of the people on your team are very, very clear what 100% performance looked like, that should all roll up and it goes, ta-da, here's the budget. You know, like, if everyone does their job, we win.
Makes it much more black and white. That's good.